presenting Greg Risberg. Humor with a message.
How many of you came from a family? How many of you came from a family where there was lots of humor? Good for you. How many of you came from a family like mine where there wasn't much? It's about 2/3 to 1/3. And so I've had to work a lot to see the humor in life. My parents were incredibly serious. Well, let me show you. Let me show you how serious they were. You can just get a sense. If you just laughed at my parents, would you please send me a picture of your parents within the next week? Now, what's so funny about my parents? I look like my... How many of you look like your parents? It's called genetics. Who does not believe these are my parents? Okay, Miss Doubtful, why don't you believe these are my parents? You know the picture, and you don't think my parents could be in that picture. Is that what you're saying? Okay, Miss Know-It-All. How about my college graduation photo? How would that be?
Hi, my name is Greg Risberg, and I want to tell you that my audiences never ever fall asleep because it's impossible to fall asleep while you're laughing. I know I can make your audience laugh, but I want to do more than that. I want them to get a message, I want them to have a great time, and I want them to get some useful ideas to take home with them.
Do any of you know that FINE is an acronym? Many of you know what the F in FINE stands for? Can you think of an F word that's... If you're laughing, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You will not be a professional speaker using that F word. What is another F word you could think of? It's a feeling. It's frustrated. How many of you ever felt frustrated? So you felt... What do you think the I stands for? Insecure, good guess. And it's close, but it's actually irritated. How about the N? Neurotic is and so we got frustrated, irritated, neurotic. And what do you think the E stands for? Erotic? Did you say erotic? Yeah, if you're in the corporate office thinking erotic, I'm thinking, hey, that's balancing out your life a little bit. Yeah. Oh, what's another E word that could fit in there? Exhausted. Yeah, a lot of people think it stands for employed, but it's actually exhausted. So if you've ever felt frustrated, irritated, neurotic, and exhausted, how have you felt? Fine. Yeah, that's fine. So here's what I'm suggesting. The next time, I'm suggesting you be honest with people. I'm not suggesting you lie. So the next time somebody asks you how you are, and you're feeling wonderful, I suggest you tell them you're feeling A plus, or A minus. And this is the best you can feel without medication, the A level. And if A is the wonderful level, what would be the pretty good level? A is wonderful, so what would be after A? Let's say B. There you go, B. B would be pretty good. And if B is pretty good, what's the so-so level? C. Now you're picking it up. Okay. And what's the not so hot level? Who said F? How many of you went to a traditional school? Okay. So the old timers would say D would be the pretty bad. And what's the worst you can feel using the system? F or? Be a little creative. It's fine. Yeah. Fine is the worst you can feel using the system. And I'd like to ask you to use this for a week. And I guarantee you it will change your life a little bit. A little bit. It really will. So how many of you let's try right now. How many of you right now would say that you were feeling A level? How many of you couldn't feel much better than you're feeling right now? Okay, 43. Okay.
Because it helps people learn, Greg uses humor in almost every topic he presents, from communication to coping with stress.
Ever compare yourself with somebody else? Ever come out even? Neither have I. More hair, less hair, more money, less money. Got the story from my dentist, picture of a talking toothbrush. Toothbrush says, sometimes I feel I have the worst job in the world. His buddy says, yeah, right. Can you guess what this license plate's trying to say? Are you a risk taker? You sure are. So I tried to find a picture related to risk taking that maybe you could identify with, and this is the best one I could come up with. Is this parent a risk taker? But isn't this sort of like your work? And you don't really know what's going to happen next, do you? How many of you could be like this lady? Goes to the store, buys her stuff, comes back to the trunk and says, oh no, the stuff from last week. How many of you have ever laughed so hard you have cried? Be honest now. How many of you have ever laughed so hard you have wet yourself? Oh, it's not only women. Come on. Well, the research says what about laughter? Research says people who laugh at least 24 times a day, and 24 seems to be the magic number, tend to feel better, handle stress better, and be more hopeful in life. Would you agree to that? How many would say laughter is one of the best gifts you've been given? Yeah. I'm in Des Moines, Iowa, 2 weeks ago, and there's a nurse. I love to interact with people. Believe it or not, I love to interact with audience. That's fun for me. There's a nurse in the audience, and she says, I know it fits in there. And I said, what? And she says, you should love at least 24 times a day. And I thought maybe I didn't hear her right. So I said, what did you say? And she says, clearly, you should love at least 24 times a day. And I said, that's amazing. I said, how do you do that? And she says, oh, I just work part-time.
Do you know what Mark Twain said? He said a person without a sense of humor is like a car without shock absorbers. You feel every single bump in the road. And I feel that being able to laugh at yourself is half the battle. So what I do, I tell true, real stories about times when laughing at myself has really helped me.
I was in Oklahoma City 4 years ago, giving a talk at an Air Force base there, and I walked in to see 300 people in the room, and every single person in the room had a pink ribbon on his or her uniform. Any of you know what pink ribbons mean in October? What does it mean? Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I walked in 4 years ago. I did not know what they meant, so I said, excuse me, what's your ribbon for? And this person told me it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I said, oh, gee, I didn't know that. She said, would you like a ribbon? I said, I sure would. My mother had breast cancer, and everybody I know is concerned about it. Sure, I'd love one. And the next day I get up, I put on that suit about 5 a.m., and I'm in Oklahoma City, and I have to go to the Mural Federal Building. You remember that disaster? I have to go there and pay my respects. So I go there about 5:30 in the morning, and I sit on the curb, and I cry and cry and cry, and then I start to pray for the souls that were lost and for the families that are grieving, and that this will never, ever have it happen again in our country. And I dust myself off because I've got a flight in about a half hour. I race to the airport. I don't remember driving there. I just run up to the counter, and I'm sort of just wiped out. And there's a gate agent there, and as sad as I am, she's cheery. Any of you dislike being around cheery people when you're down? So I say to her, and I give her my ticket. She gives me a boarding pass. She says, wait a minute. She says, wait a minute. What is your ribbon for? And I looked down at this pink ribbon, and I saw it, but I totally forgot what it was for. And so I said to her, and I sort of in a daze, I said, what? And she thinks my what means I can't hear her. So she says, what's your ribbon for? And I heard her just fine the first time, but I'm thinking, it gives me a little time. So I'm thinking, come on, it'll come to you. And I said, it's Breast Awareness Month. And her cheeriness leaves, and now she looks puzzled, and she says to me, what? And I think her what means she can't hear me. So I say, it's Breast Awareness Month.
So yes, as you can see, Greg is funny, but he also has a message. He helps people think about what really matters in their lives.
Jenny, a bigger question, why are you on this planet?
For my kids.
For your kids, okay. Amy, why are you on this planet?
To help the people that I can.
To help the people you can. You know, it's interesting that none of you said this. None of you said, I am here to make as much of this as possible. Well, do any of you know people who were wealthy who were not happy? So does money necessarily bring you happiness? But how many of you like 6 months to try? If I could.
My own philosophy about what really matters is in this quotation from Leo Ralston. He says, "I cannot believe that the purpose of life is simply to be happy. I believe the purpose of life is to be useful, to be responsible, and to be compassionate. But it is above all to matter and to count and to stand for something and to have made some difference that you lived at all." Thank you so very much for watching this video. If you're looking for a great opener to set a positive tone for your entire meeting, or a terrific spouse program, or a wonderful closer to send your people home happy, I would just love to be your meeting partner.